session of the day, which is titled Applications of AI in the Military Domain. This panel will examine how armed forces are currently using AI capabilities across the military systems, both from operational decision-making and support, but also for sustainment and functions. This discussion will also address the key challenges related to these applications of AI. And here, again, we mention trust, we mention explainability, and human judgment under times of pressure. To do this, I would like to introduce the moderator of the panel, Isabel González Hervás. Isabel is a senior telecommunications engineer and partner in charge of defense and security at EY. She is also certified as an AI executive by the MIT, and she has over 20 years of experience specializing in the adoption of artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies in the defense and security industries, and has led major AI, data, and cyber programs in flagship European initiatives. So I would like to join me in welcoming them on stage. Please, go ahead, all yours. Thank you.
Please.
That's me.
Already active, right? Yeah. So good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining this second plenary session at this very convenient timing according to European standards, or to Spanish standards, sorry, not European. Let me first start by thanking as well the Spanish authorities, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Defense, and very especially the REIM team that has brought together such a diverse group of governmental, military, also industrial and academic points of view in order to be able to bring these discussions together. This diversity is exactly what is reflected in this panel. I will take a few minutes, less than they deserve, way less than they deserve according to their impressive acumen, but I will just take well, a bit of a time from our session to introduce our panelists, because they reflect exactly that, diversity in practice. They are senior military leaders or practitioners with direct responsibilities in the deployment of AI from an operational point of view. So they are really experts and really relevant voices in shaping up this discussion, again, where AI meets the operational reality. I'm truly honored to be moderating this panel. I will start by Colonel Christophe Piubeni. We've been also chatting a bit beforehand. I will try to make it short. It's just so impressive that I will try to make it short. More than 25 years of service, colonel in the French Air Force, and currently, Assistant Director, sorry for that, Christophe. Assistant Director of Strategy at the French AI agency. He's also accumulated more than 4,000 flight hours, many missions, more than 100 war missions actually worldwide, and also with some different diverse assignments as well throughout his career, some of them being also commanding one of the major air bases in France. He also was an exchange officer taking part in the shaping up during COVID, during the pandemic, the U.S. digital strategy for the U.S. force. So thank you very much, Christophe, and welcome. Also, another pretty impressive resume, Jack, Lieutenant General Jack Shanahan, now retired, but former director from the U.S. Air Force, sorry, with more than 36 years military career, also inaugural director of the US DoD, the Department of Defense Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, and also one of the leading pioneers in adopting AI within the operational context, in particular with regards to Project Maven, which is one of the, I would say, most relevant initiatives, if not the first and the most expanded, and with a deep operational footprint to bring those capabilities in the decision support. Jack, welcome as well. Mi General, Major General Alejandro Chueca, obviously from the Spanish Air and Space Force. Alejandro Chueca started his career becoming a lieutenant back in 1986, if I don't get it wrong. 1986. From many missions, more than, again, 9,000. These are almost all, except Ignacio and myself, from the Air Force, so the number of flight hours is really something relevant. So in the case of Alejandro, he's accumulated more than 9,000 flying hours. Also, he's taking many responsibilities, both in flying in missions in war missions, actually, also in support logistics in Malog. And now he's currently at the Secretariat. Sorry. At the Secretariat, let me say it properly in English, the Chief of the General Secretariat of the Aerospace Forces Staff, which is not exactly the same as we refer to it. Also from an academic and professional perspective, in addition to the military, with diverse business engineering, business masters, and also, pretty impressive as well, mi general. And last but not least, Dr. Ignacio del Valle, Nacho, as we will be referring him later. He's the Chief of Responsible AI at Cyber and Digital Transformation Division in NATO headquarters. He's already been there for quite some time. He was previously developing his career both at European Defence Agency and Hervás, going backwards in unmanned aerial systems, and he's absolutely focused in adopting responsible AI military practices according to the NATO strategy, the principles of responsible AI strategy, and also from a very, I would say, mixed, rich and diverse background, coping with engineering, science, but also philosophy, where he holds a PhD from the University of Granada, precisely joining AI and ethics. So with this, I try to make it fast, but these men here are really impressive. With this short introduction, we will just dive into the content of the panel. The panel is going to be structured, or the discussion is going to be structured as an open conversation throughout a few questions, structured into rounds. The first round of questions will address the major achievements that in each of their organizations, AI has already been successfully deployed operationally, and some of the real-world operational use cases. Because what we really have now very clear, and after the sessions this morning and what we are seeing in the past few years, is that AI has long come out from the pure lab environment and deeply in the end-to-end, embedded into the end-to-end military decision chain. So my first question, Christophe, now I just remove all the rest, Colonel. Could you please briefly outline the main achievements that you have accomplished within the French AI agency in this field, what challenges you've met, and some use cases, some example of the operational application of artificial intelligence?
Thank you very much. So to understand the achievement we were able to do within the French Armed Forces, you have to go back to what my agency is and why it's so particular. So we started with 40 people last September in 2024. We are up to 250, and we should end to 300. So most of the people, they are ninjas in AI, so from data analyst to full stack developer. So this is the first step to succeed. The second one, we had invest in a supercomputer, which is to date the highest in Europe to treat classified information. So with those two bricks, we were able to start to fill some operational needs to the Air Force and to the other forces. The first one was to enhance the work every day, how to go faster to take decisions, how to go faster in the way you are working. We secure a sovereign agreement with Mistral, which is a French tech using a light LLM, which is frugal and which is good to save some energy. With this LLM, we were also able to do some multimodal funding. We were able to enhance some data which will be useful to our first circle of intelligence. A second thing we've done also, we focus on legacy models, especially legacy aircraft. We found that those systems, even though they were older, they were the good one to put quickly some AI. So one of the examples was when you've got electronic warfare pods, before it took 24 hours to have an EOB from the battlefield. Now with AI, we were able, in less than 2 weeks, to give directly the information to the WISO, so to the backseat of the aircraft, just with some codes. So our main customer today for my agency are, of course, Intel services, because there are so many information that we have to make sense of the information. And so we use specific techniques. Some are going to social networks without leaving some traces, because also we are sure that our competitors are not aware of what we are doing. We're trying also to protect against disinformation. Second main milestone we are on a path to achieve is to create an autonomous combat unit for the French army by 2027. So those are the main achievements. But the last ingredient, in my point of view, for that my agency is successful today, is that we have also, besides the technical hub, we've got a research hub, a little bit like the US Air Force has done with the MIT AI Accelerator. So we gather 30 PhDs and we try to shape their studies in some area where we need to be better. And with that, we are able to bridge the gap between the operational and what is the realm of the possible, if that makes sense.
A lot, indeed. And if you had, if we go back to the sequence, I mean, understand, sense better, sense, understand, decide and act, but also the supportive force capabilities within the entire chain of military decision-making. If you had to focus on the sensing and understanding, what application, real application of AI would you think has mattered the most from your experience?
For us is really what Mistral was able to bring us with his large model, and the fact that we were able to work side by side and to fine-tune it. One of the front office we shape with Mistral is to give the opportunity to every single service member to have a conversational agent which can work on a classified environment. So they are not using ChatGPT. They are using Mistral, which is called with another word. But also, what we have to be aware of that is if we are putting light models, which are which are really efficient, those models will be able to be embedded in a fighters, in a tank, in a vessel, and so on and so on. So this is a way, I think our biggest achievement is this one.
Very light swap requirement.
Before you ask me a question, can I add on?
Please do, Jack.
So this idea of what is your most important project, I would say any project is important for the lessons you will learn about what it takes to build AI at scale. The idea of data management, we had no idea in the early days of Project Maven what data management pipeline looked like. What is the compute? What is the talent? How do you do updates to models that are in the field? It almost, this is going to be a bold statement, but it almost doesn't matter what that first project is, because you will learn so much from that you can apply to any other project.
And from that standpoint, from the operational application, since Project Maven, also the constitution of the Joint AI Center, what are your lessons learned, I would say?
So I thought it would be best to describe the US military journey of AI into two eras. The first is the pre-frontier model era, and the second is the post-frontier model. Maven is almost now 9 years old, clearly in the pre-frontier model. Frontier model is really within the only last year to 18 months. Why do I think Project Maven was so important? I call it the AI Big Bang for the Department of Defense. It is what got us all going faster on the operationalization of it. Not the research and development, which was still going on as it always has, but how do you put these capabilities into field, do it quickly, and do it for the entire military? Since then, Maven has successfully scaled across the globe. Palantir calls their system Maven Smart System for a very specific reason. It is built on the foundation of Maven. They were there at the creation, helping us build a data pipeline. Since then, I would say we've had an explosion of projects. When I went to the Joint AI Center, all the other military services are getting better and better at moving quickly in everything from administrative tasks to personnel to logistics, medical, and putting AI on platforms, in sensors, in decision support systems. What I would say has not really happened effectively yet is still at scale. So much more needs to be done to really get these projects going at scale. So speed, much, much better. Scale still leaves room to improvement. And that is then into the second piece of this, into the what I call the frontier model. It is happening quickly. It's just now in the experimentation stage, but I would say I see it already being used for things like mission planning, course of action development, targeting and network analysis, intelligent analysis. This is mostly what I would call sandbox experimentation, but it's happening at a speed that I will say within the next 1 to 2 years, you will see this go faster and faster, which brings in some concerns of its own. But I guess what I'll say, and before I close this part of it, is what matters to me back in those early days, I used to say this all the time. Why was I excited about AI in the military? Because it would allow us to augment humans, accelerate and automate the tasks that humans just ran out of time to do. And what that was supposed to allow is more decision time for humans. I still say that, but I'm growing increasingly concerned that if we're not careful, humans will not have any decision times because we will turn over too much of this to automated and autonomous systems. So we're going to have to strike this balance really carefully to understand where does that line between let the machines go and let humans do what humans do best. So the way I guess I would say it is we began with in a human-only world. Machines in the legacy world were just machines. Now we're seeing this human-machine integration that is opening up all sorts of interesting possibilities. But at some point, it'll be machine only, and the question is, what tasks will be machine only? Where does that human control and judgment get applied? To me, I don't even say the word loop anymore. I say human control and judgment. The question is figuring out, the hard question is figuring out where, when, and how is that human control actually applied? And that and the fact that human-machine integration in this digital age is going to look so different than the world I grew up in a very industrial age, hardware-driven world. Machine did something wrong, human fixed it. That may not be the case anymore, so that whole idea of where do we apply human control and judgment, it will be further left in many cases than we're used to, but it needs to happen. I guess I'll leave it at that.
And following that line of reasoning, if you have to ground that to, again, real use cases, real application of real-world scenarios. Particularly, you were mentioning a lot about human judging, not putting any more the human in the loop, on the loop, or over the loop, or whatever you want around the loop. But just in order to tackle those concerns, how about the decision and the action? What use cases, if you can share, of course, to the extent that you can share, you've had the chance to experience in your former
no, I would say, so
tenure.
What's interesting with Project Maven is humans were still overseeing those detections. So there were object detections, classification, and tracking. Humans were still overseeing that. But we're rapidly seeing where the humans will be somewhere in there, but not in that level that we saw back in Project Maven. And the one I will give you, so I would look at a bookend. I would look at a bookend. On one end is electronic warfare and cyber. Mm-hmm. It's all going to happen at the speed of machines in many cases because you don't have time for a human to jump in and say, that's a cyber attack we need to defend against. It may be immediate defense to a counter-offense against cyber. To the other end of the spectrum, which I'm positive everybody in this room would agree, is AI and nuclear weapons. And there's at least 2 panels today on that subject. So I won't say any more that generally that's bad. Cyber, electronic warfare, generally I'm very receptive to that. Everything else is in the middle, and we have to figure out what those use cases are. And I would say, kind of answering your question a little bit different way, we started with just perception with Project Maven. Then we added context. Then we started seeing the introduction of reasoning as sort of immature as it was. But that's happened so fast, I'm already looking at the future of being agent. And what does that mean? That's the question I think we're trying to answer is where do the humans decide where to intervene or to let the machines do versus agentic AI, which in a military context, I do not want open claw in the military right now. Not maybe soon, but that is so enormous a risk about letting agents go out and do military-related tasks.
Thank you very much, Jack. Major General Alejandro, on your side, regarding the Spanish Air and Space Force, I already experienced activities in the, I would focus now, if you agree, if it's okay with you, in the, let's say, supported forces. Because many of the most mature AI application, operational application, real-world use case scenarios normally happen in that area. And normally happen in that area because it's not as sensible as I would say, controversial, as Jack was describing also before, and Christophe as well. But however, it's way more vast, way more, I would say, higher in the number of applications of AI. Also, they are they're closer to civil applications. Sometimes it seems, or it's perceived that it's way more mature. What is the experience from the Spanish Air and Space Force point of view in that supports and maintenance area?
Thank you, Isabel. First of all, I see here 3 panelists from the Air Force, aviators, pilots, and I see here also 3 Spaniards. I am in the middle, so I am at home here. So thank you for organizing this so well. Well, impressive what you have explain us up to now. Well, regarding your question, the first part of your the answer to the first part of your question about the specific application to the support functions of the military organizations and the operational tempo and the readiness and so on, that's absolutely yes, obviously. Applying the artificial intelligence to the support functions increases the readiness and the operational tempo. And this is why, and this is because predictive maintenance reduces the breakdowns of our platforms and the downtimes. Logistic optimization improves the availability of critical resources at the right time, and training support systems supported by AI allow us to really tailor to the instruction to the real needs and also to the individual learning profiles. But we could continue with these concepts, but better than that, just a few examples. When I was preparing that, I reviewed in the Air Force, we have now in this support area to the military forces, we have 75 projects that they have an AI component at different stages of developments and in one. So with one idea of the other, but 75. Of course, I'm not going to list all these projects, but I would like to raise just 3 as an example, just a flash. First is on predictive maintenance. You know that we have to pass to check aircraft for structural fatigue and stress. So, for example, we have developed a robot that do the structural test of the tail section of our aircraft, and instead of taking 5,000 images of scans of thermographies, ultrasounds, and so on, now applying artificial intelligence, we have reduced the downtime from more than 1 week to 2 days. So this is increasing readiness, obviously, when you multiply for the fleet and the number of revisions. And a second example is from the training side. We are now working on using AI to understand better and work on which is the cognitive load that a pilot has when flying, which is the cognitive stress regarding the sequence of stimuli and the accumulation of stimuli he has to deal with. And the last example, but has been mentioned here very clearly, is the idea of having AI as a service in our internal protected secure networks. That's very important from my point of view. Providing, for example, LLMs, large language models, as a service to our personnel, meaning that all our personnel, this is happening now, all our personnel is able to access our own knowledge bases, protected knowledge bases, regulations, technical compilations, documents, and so on. So this is empowering our people. And more than that, the specialized assistants are, well, I think we have a lot of capabilities there. And I agree with that. The question is, what about the agents on top of these LLMs? This is a decision to be taken shortly and something to think about. And the last part of your question regarding the lessons for responsible AI deployment. In that domain, I see 3 lessons. First of all is that deploying AI in the support domain is probably the easiest area where it can be deployed in the military organizations, because it's where the risks are more manageable. This is a typical, it's a clear dual role, dual use field, where the military side benefits from already mature and successful AI applications in the civilian side, I mean in the commercial or manufacturing industry. And clearly that makes things easier. And the second one is also about the dual use, because this reduces the tensions regarding responsible AI, because as this kind of applications has been already developed, at least in Europe, in the civilian area, they are compliant with or affected by the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act, meaning that at the beginning there should be already compliant. And the last thing I would like to say is that to underline that we are speaking about support, but it doesn't mean that it's not important. It has a strategic significance. Why? Because the accumulation of all these actions of or effects of the artificial intelligence in the support area have a cumulative effect that increase the readiness and reduce the operational tempo of our forces. It doesn't mean that looking at the support area has to diminish our attention to the responsible AI. Human agency, responsibility, accountability must apply equally to the support functions. And maybe I have extended too much.
Thank you very much, Alejandro. Dear Nacho, from the alliance standpoint, NATO has already endorsed common principles on responsible AI in the military field. It's also taking those trust and interoperability as core elements of it. Can you please share with us what the major impact and the major achievements from a NATO standpoint? And then very likely try and give us as well some, again, real-world examples on how to tackle those within alliance operation.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm very honored to share the stage with these colleagues. And just non-military, always worked with military guys, but it's, yeah. The first thing that I would like to reflect is that how well this panel is. I mean, it's. I really think that we have to move beyond AI as a general concept. We have to move beyond AI as a technology, and we have to focus on the use cases, because we have to move beyond this approaching AI in a monolithic way, and even because responsible AI approaches and responsible AI shouldn't be monolithic either. It's very context dependent, and context is everything in this domain. And it's not about AI adoption, at least in NATO, it's not about AI adoption, it's about which problems you want to solve and which capability gaps you want to fill. And this is the first thing that already in our strategy, in the AI strategy in 2021, we already identified specific domains, specific use cases that could be could benefit from the use of this technology. And already at that time, we have, well, NATO is a large organization. We have the civil part and the military part. From the civil part, we already identified, for example, chatbots, AI applications that would help us with the policy making, and we do a lot of policy. And, for example, strategic foresight analysis, these kind of things are things that are being already being benefit from the use of AI. But taking also what General Chueca said, these more civilian applications are not so demanding from the responsible AI. And we have, normally they are being used, and NATO in this regard is not that different from a bank or from a hospital or from another company. So everything that it's going to arrive either from the AI Act or from other regulations are going to apply, and we are good. I think I would go to focus on the military side of the house, in which we don't have regulation, and we don't expect regulation. And in this part, I would say that at NATO size, the most, it's something that it's a publicly known example, is the integration of Maven for the modernization of the command and control capabilities in Allied Command Transformation. Now, the integration of this technology in NATO differs substantially from the integration of the same technology in other allies. That's why context means everything. In our case, we are like, for example, in the sensing phase, we are interacting with different sensors, with different allies, information that's coming from different sources. So things about interoperability, data sovereignty, lineage, of course, security, different classifications level, it's been key. And the fact that we have NATO interoperability standards has been key for the integration. And also, once the data is in the system, once the data is being ingested, we have the phase of making sense. And for this, we have another approach that we are exploring, which is how to use the best models within the alliance to do image classification, to do open source analysis, to do all these kind of things that will help NATO's commanders to make sense of the situation, and then to act accordingly and to connect to the different assets within NATO and with allies. I don't want to end without saying, because I'm responsible AI officer, that responsibility is part and parcel of all these things. Responsible AI in NATO means being aligned with the 6 principles of responsible use. And for this, we are like overseeing all this development, and we are building policies that are context dependent and that will not prevent military effectiveness. And I can go back later if you want to that.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this. It's true that it was a bit long one, but we already knew that when we prepared the session, so it's reasonably within the scope of timing that we had allocated. The second part of the panel is just going to be addressing one general topic from your different perspectives. When we get together AI with real operational environments, with real operational requirements, with real operational implications, including doctrine, including decision-making, including the chain of command. I mean, all the touch points that you've already introduced in the previous round of a panel. Where would you put, the toughest, I would say, tension in order to, okay, we know that there are many technologies there in the AI field which are to a reasonable level or to a sufficient level of maturity to be incorporated in whatever the use case, as long as we put the boundary conditions to make them operational. Where do those tensions sit, Christophe?
So I see three main areas where human can be overwhelmed by what AI can bring. The first is basically AI system can generate far more alerts or inputs that human operators can realistically check. So this is the first thing we need to address. The second, exactly what you said before, is everything is about context. The algorithms, the way they are built, they are not able to see, for instance, if you are in an aircraft, you knew your position, but you know exactly also your weapon system. So this is the second thing we need to address. And the last one is AI is able to have early detection because they are better than us than finding some pattern that we are not used to do that. So how we can be sure that this won't challenge the operator or worse, give some bias to the operator. So the way we're trying to address that is regarding the criticality of the system, we'll put more boundaries or not. If it is just a LLM to enhance your agenda or to give an automatic sum up of a meeting, you don't really care to put those boundaries, because if there are failures, lives are not at stake. So the trade-off we try to find is we are aware that everything is not explainable, and I think I spot one of our MIT teacher in the room, and I have learned from her that not everything is explainable in AI. So we have to take that risk if lives are not at stake, that if we are trained sufficiently well with the system, nobody today in the room will challenge Waze, because everybody knows that Waze is good. So if you train the operator, and if you understand how the system will give you an answer, even though that with the way that AI is built, sometimes to two prompts, you have to the same prompt, you have two answers, which are different.
Very likely.
You have to trust them. So it really depends on the system, but we firmly believe that if we are putting a doctrine to every single system, which is fully fledged to the system and not a general one, which takes really the criticality of the system, it is the best way. But for me, it's just a new capability which allows us to be better. If we go back to the Middle Age, when the French created the strongbow against the longbow, I'm sorry for my British friend in the room, it was the silver bullet, and everybody was were afraid of that. And after we know to master it and to use it, and for me, if we're able to use it with a proper human control, I think it won't be a good idea to get rid of this capability, which basically will allow us to be better at the end of the day. If that makes sense?
A lot, indeed. Jack, on your side, tensions. I'm going to have to ask you as well, the three of you, to be kind of brief, because we're 5 minutes away. But
Tensions?
Tensions in operational deployment.
Well, first, say that I would go straight to education and training. We're asking operators, policymakers, and commanders to make decisions about a technology they don't understand well enough. So you have to start. If you're going to have tensions, you have to know what tensions you're dealing with. And then in addition to this emphasis on context, I would add complexity, risk, and urgency have to be taken into account. And then this idea of having to have a full AI lifecycle approach with designers, testers, developers, lawyers, ethicists, users, all in the room from the very beginning all the way into the systems retired. People will say, well, we've always done that. We have not done it the way is going to be required in this domain with this technology. And the tensions will all be about the context of which this is going to be used. But to be able to make those decisions, you really have to understand what's the urgency, what's the complexity, what kind of risk am I willing to take? Can I take a big risk, small risk, whatever? So to me, the tensions will come down to the idea of once I understand the risk, but I have to understand the risk, then I can make a very human decision about how much risk I can accept, or no, I refuse to do that because it's too much risk. What we would call in the military context, risk to mission and risk to force. That requires a lot more analysis to understand where the technology is going to help, where it could possibly harm, what could go wrong, what's the normal operating envelope of this technology, and so on. So for me, there will be a lot of different tensions in there. One of them will be the idea of what do we mean by responsible AI? What decisions do we make? But it really has to start with a lot more education training. And the last thing I'll say is this idea of it's just a thing, right? It's a technology. It's an enabling function. It's the operational concepts is what you're getting at that will make the most difference. And that takes a decade to understand how to put this into play differently than you think you might on day one of Maven. Does not look like we expected 9 years later. Very different.
Okay. Major General, on your side as well, tensions when trying to take this to the real world.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm going to concur with what has been said. I was looking at this point from, again, from a support point of view. And, well, from my point of view, as maybe most of you or some of you have read this report of the Global Commission that is called the Global Commission on Re-Aim, that is called Responsible by Design. And this report includes a table that classifies the risks depending on the context. So, and if you see all non-operational application of AI in the military domain are marked as low or moderate risks, and all operational ones are marked as high risk. So it makes sense is the context what we have there. And nevertheless, there are always risks and tensions. And for the support area, because it's not linked to combat applications and operational applications, I think there is a risk of less scrutiny. Maybe it's not, you mentioned LLMs for meetings and so on, so less scrutiny. Another tension that I believe we can find is the trust of the system. When artificial intelligence systems optimize logistics, personnel management, training, and so on in ways that are not sufficiently transparent, there is a risk of cognitive offloading, even when humans are formally in control, but you are trusting the system. Well, in my view, the best line of action we can take to deal with that is, of course, education. Education in terms of literacy, so all the ranks, and education in terms of the leadership. I completely agree with what you have said, that the leadership has to understand which are the technologies in order to make good decisions, but also the literacy of our military personnel. In the Air and Space Force, what we have taken one action, that is to review all the syllabi of all our courses, all education programs, just to ensure ourselves that a minimum of literacy on artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence human relationship is understood at the right levels, at the appropriate levels. And this is something that we need to do because it's absolutely necessary. So may I finish with a motto? Sure. Responsible artificial intelligence at the end depends on responsible people, responsible professionals. And I believe this will conclude what I have.
Thank you very much, Major General. Nacho, from your point of view,
yeah,
I know it's very hard to be the last one in a panel.
The last one, I don't have time, just one idea. It's the tension that I think it's more important is this trade-off between military effectiveness and responsible AI. And I think this trade-off rests on a false dichotomy. I think that what is normally framed as a responsible AI constraint is in fact a constraint of adopting a poorly understood technology to solve a poorly understood problem. So I will never oppose military effectiveness. I'm well aware, my first lessons in NATO when I arrived is whatever you do, whatever policy you do, we have to be ready to fight tonight. This is key for deterrence. We have to be ready to fight so that we don't need to fight. What I would challenge is technological solutionism that prioritize rapid adoption only without a clear use case, without a clear military effect that it's requested. So military effectiveness is not opposed to being accountable. It's not opposed to testing your system so that you can trust it. It's not opposed to ensuring that your system provides the tools so that you can be legally accountable and you have legal compliance with the operations. What this requires is some of the extra resources, people thinking through all these things, people that are here today. And I think in a current situation in which defense budgets are increasing, this shouldn't be a problem.
Well, thank you very much for all your extremely valuable contributions, and again, from a very grounded experience in the operational side. I think you've already set and identified not only the use cases that are being the most impactful, but also the tensions that are coming up when we actually try to operationalize it, and try to do it in a responsible framework approach. That's also going to be set in the ground for the third panel, which is going to be covering how do we put industrial inputs to influence and help shape up responsible AI in the military domains. The only question would be, just for, at least for myself to think about later, is whether we're going to be able to do that fast enough, to be effective enough, not to need it, no? That would also be something to think about. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. Not only we've discovered some revolutionary use cases, but we've also talked about the importance of our role in the AI life cycle as humans, defining where and how we should intervene to benefit society. Now, to continue, we have our strategic dialogue, which is titled Capabilities, Possibilities, and Projects with AI of the Spanish Secretary of the State for Defense. In this dialogue, we will focus on the opportunities and ongoing AI projects led by the Spanish Secretary of State for Defense, and it will provide insight on how AI is being integrated into the defense policy and the development of new capabilities. To do so, I would like to introduce Navy Captain Rafael Roberto Delgado Carpenter. He entered the Naval Military Academy, in 1990, and is currently a senior officer of the Spanish Navy, specialized in submarines and communications. He has commanded multiple naval vessels, graduated from the Naval War College, and has held key leadership roles in naval operations, communications, and defense technology. So I would like to invite him on stage. He currently heads the management body of the General Directorate of Information, Communication Systems, and Technologies at the Spanish Ministry of Defense. So if we could all welcome him on stage, thank you. I don't know if anyone's coming on stage. Navy Captain Rafael Roberto Delgado. Okay, they're doing the mics. Sorry about that. We're gonna have to give them just a minute. A lot of people, not enough mics. But yeah, just to reflect very quickly on what our previous panelist says, I think that this human in the loop is especially important in the early designs of these models if we want to ensure fair and compliant AI systems with our international law. And we can talk about how Spain addresses this in just a few minutes. Buenas tardes. Okay, here we go. Please welcome our panelists on stage and let's begin our strategic dialogue. Thank you very much.
Ahí tú, mi general aquí. Dejamos al... Bueno, lo hemos cambiado.
¿Dónde quieres que me ponga? ¿Aquí?
Ahí mismo, mi general, sí.
Entonces, ¿qué me
Deja,
ahí?
Carmen. Perdóname.
Es the same.
Pues...
Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos a esta sesión de diálogo estratégico. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this first session of Strategic Dialogue. As the speaker introduced, thank you, Alba. We are going to address the capabilities, possibilities, and projects that facilitate the adoption of responsible and ethical artificial intelligence solutions in the Spanish military domain. I have the honor to present the participation of three leading personalities or representatives that belong to our Secretary of State, of Defense, excuse me. And they're going to share our point of view and their valuable experiences with us, hopefully providing new insights to all of you that assist. We roughly have 35 minutes, so our challenge is going to be time. So please allow me to begin by introducing in the same order in which they're going to speak, that unfortunately is not exactly the same one that you see in the pictures. First of all, Lieutenant General Ivorra. He entered the Air Force Academy in 1987. On exiting, he served as a fighter pilot in the 15th Wing and is somewhat related to the Navy because he was the first Air Force pilot to land on an aircraft carrier. He has worked in NATO and United Nations, has been deployed in Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Lebanon. He has commanded the Kuala Inao Advanced Air Group in Red Flag 2016. He has over 400 days in operational areas, 58 missions in the Balkans, and numerous national and international decorations. He led the technical cabinet for the Secretary of State and is now the Director General for Strategy and Innovation of the Defense Industry in our Ministry of Defense. So among other responsibilities, he leads innovation programs promoting research, development in areas related to cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, command and control systems, and new defense platform. Thank you for joining us, General. Afterwards, Lieutenant General Campo Loarte will be delivering his speech. He entered the Army Academy in 1984 and exited as an artillery officer. He has completed courses in parachute command, mountain warfare, fire direction systems, and electronic warfare. He has commanded an artillery regiment, served in Army staffs, and has been a teacher in the Artillery Academy. He has been field aide to King Juan Carlos I, and curiously, just as Lieutenant General Ivorra, he led the technical cabinet of our Secretary of Defense. Since August 2025, he is the Director General of the INTA, what we know in Spain as the INTA, is the National Institute of Aerospace Technology, which is a public research organization of the Ministry of Defense, specialized in research and technological development and certification in several areas. Its main activities being research, development, and innovation. Thank you for joining us, General. And in the third place, not the last one, Dr. Carmen Sánchez Oliveros is a PhD physicist and senior civil servant in the Ministry of Defense. She is a project management professional certified by the Project Management Institute. She holds master degrees in environmental engineering and information and communication management. She is a full professor at the Naval Engineering Weapons System Academy, teaching optronics, and has received NATO recognition for work in directed energy infrared countermeasure systems. Now, from 2022, she leads the sustainment and quality area in the General Directorate that deals with weapon systems in our ministry. She oversees the correct development of programs, including certification and common sustainment agreements for surface-to-air missile systems, satellite systems, and particularly with the NH-90 helicopter. Today, she will share with us the point of view of the team that provides our armed forces with the systems they need to maintain superiority in engagement. And this finishes the presentations. The way the panel is organized, I will ask them a question, they will deliver a speech, and if we have time, we will do some cross questions. So please, I ask all the panelists to deliver their speeches answering the question, what are, in your opinion, the most pressing priorities and challenges for ensuring responsible artificial intelligence adoption for military capabilities? Please, Lieutenant General Ivorra.
Comandante, muchas gracias, Rafael. Good afternoon to everyone. I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude for the organizers, to inviting the Directorate General for Strategy and Innovation of the Defense Industry, we call it DGID, to take part of this interesting panel. Thank you very much. DGID is the body within the Spanish Secretariat of State for Defense who is responsible for designing and implementing industrial, research and innovation policy in the field of defense, managing industrial and international cooperation, supporting the internationalization of Spanish technological and industrial base, and overseeing defense exports and related technology transfers. Given the focus of this panel, I will concentrate on the research and innovation dimension, where some of the most important developments in artificial intelligence are taking place, particularly in the responsible, secure, and operationally trustworthy use of AI in defense. The Spanish Ministry of Defense has a specific defense technology and innovation strategy, known by its acronym ETID. We call it ETID. Although the current version was published in 2021, an updated edition is about to be released. That reflects the rapid evolution of threats, the acceleration of technological change, and the growing relevance of strategic autonomy, resilience, and responsible innovation. We developed this strategy in close alignment with Spain's defense industrial strategy that was published in 2023. Together, both strategies ensure that promising technologies do not remain in the experimental phase, but rather become scalable, integrated, certifiable, and supportable defense capabilities. Artificial intelligence has been identified as a key technological priority for several years. This has enabled Spain to launch a broad portfolio of national research and development initiatives, including sensor data exploitation and automated multi-sensor fusion, decision support systems and operational analytics, predictive maintenance and life cycle optimization, autonomous navigation and control of unmanned systems, synthetic data generation and model training pipelines, high-performance computing and AI-enabled mission processing, natural language and speech analytics for defense applications, and finally, AI-enabled simulation, training, and operational decision support. The updated ETID will further reinforce this approach, expanding both the operational use cases for AI and the specific lines for mitigating AI risk, including robustness, explainability and traceability of AI systems, detection of AI-generated or manipulated content, protection against data poisoning and adversarial training, life cycle security of military data models, resilience to cascading failures in multi-AI systems, certification, testing, validation, and verification frameworks of AI, safeguards against malicious or unintended AI exploitation, and ethical and legal compliance embedded by design. A core principle across all these efforts is the responsible use of AI. This means balancing operational effectiveness with meaningful human control, compliance with international humanitarian law, and risk mitigation and mission assurance, among others. At the national level, we collaborate closely with other public bodies, supporting dual-use research and innovation, strengthening synergies between civil innovation ecosystems and defense requirements. Internationally, Spain plays an active role within the European Defence Fund, the European Defence Agency, and allied innovation frameworks, contributing to responsible AI norms, cooperative research and development, and shared governance models. In the coming years, Spain will continue to expand its ambitious defense programs based on artificial intelligence, while strengthening its autonomy, resilience, industrial maturity, and ethical safeguards. Our goal is clear. AI must improve military effectiveness without undermining trust, accountability, or legal and moral responsibility. This is a collective effort. The Ministry of Defense, the Armed Forces, the national industrial base, research institutions, startups, and international partners. We fully recognize the transformative potential of AI, but we are also committed to managing its risks with rigor, transparency, and responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, General. Please, Lieutenant General Campo.
Thank you, Rafael, for your kind introduction. Thanks to organization for allowing me representing the INTA to participate in this important event, in this important summit. I would like to begin outlining the context and then highlight the role of the INTA. We are living in a complex and contested security environment when artificial intelligence is already a decisive enabler of military effectiveness. Success is no longer just about manpower or firepower. It's about decision-making speed, adaptability, and the smart use of technology. Artificial intelligence is already transforming how our forces operate, enable faster, more agile decision-making and real-time analysis of vast amounts of data. Its impact is evident across multiple domains, including command and control, logistics, operational planning, sensor integration, or robotic systems. The goal is clear: maintain interoperability and effectiveness while meeting new compliance standards. Done right, AI becomes a powerful force multiplier. As technology continues to surpass traditional doctrine, a responsive, strategic approach to AI will be our most critical advantage. In consequence, To truly benefit from AI, we need the right combination on research, experimentation, and certification, ensuring that every system we deploy is both effective and responsible. Here is where INTA plays a vital role. INTA is a public research organization under the Spanish Ministry of Defense, bridge the gap between technological innovation, operational execution, and strict certification. Our mission is to support the armed forces by translating cut-edge research into practical and operational capabilities. Our work is structured around two main pillars: knowledge development and certification. Regarding knowledge development, we conduct applied research and experimentation in AI and related technologies. For this purpose, we operate a dedicated AI laboratory supporting the armed forces and the defense staff, and at the end of 2022, the Ministry of Defense launched CTDS, the Technological Development and Experimentation Center. CTDS will focus on dual-use technologies of strategic importance, expanding INTA's capabilities and promoting collaboration with universities, companies, and research centers. One division will be fully dedicated to AI, including a high-capacity data processing facility. CTDS is more than just a lab. It's a hub connecting industry, academia, government agencies, and Ministry of Defense stakeholders, covering the full system life cycle from development to deployment. Regarding certification, INTA has extensive experience in testing, evaluation, and certification of complex defense systems. Our role is to support the future certification of regulation-compliant AI systems, ensuring that technology adoption never compromises safety, security, or effectiveness. Because at INTA, we firmly believe that AI should only be deployed in military operations under strict conditions. Systems must be validated and tested, operational, explainable, and transparent, and always remain under meaningful human control. Cybersecurity must be a priority from the start, and clear accountability and governance mechanisms must be in place. These principles are not just administrative requirements. They are essential to maintaining trust, operational effectiveness, and ethical standards in complex missions. In short, AI offers opportunities for military operation, but only if we combine innovation with rigorous certification. INTA's work is focused to ensure that the Spanish armed forces can leverage AI safety effectively and responsibly, maximizing operational advantage while safeguarding human oversight, accountability, and ethical standards.
Thank you very much, General. Carmen and I, we work together in a different branch of the Ministry of Defense, so I know her and I'm sure she will deliver a wonderful speech. Please go ahead, Carmen.
Thank you, Rafa. I see no face in the audience also. Good afternoon, everybody. First, thank you for the opportunity to participate along my colleagues of the Secretary of Defense at this panel to share the point of view of the Directorate General for Armament and Material connecting to this interesting topic. I'm going to focus my presentation about what we are doing to introduce AI capabilities into a military system through the armament programs we manage at the Directorate. First, I would like to translate program offices of the Ministry of Defense are already specifying initial capabilities, initial AI capabilities for our program. But the important thing is that program offices specify what the user requires. So that's our main task. We are involved in the specifications by the user requirements. So our program offices are giving a response to operational needs already. Such as, for example, our ground-based air defense system. We are last year we are specifying some initial capabilities. Additionally, we have several naval platforms prepared to adopt this technology. So to ensure these capabilities are introduced, these AI capabilities are introduced in a controlled condition into the system, for us, from our point of view, validation is the key. Validation is the key because we are dealing with a technology which evolves, a technology which depends on data and context. So validation takes a new dimension in this new reality. This new reality, as the system evolves, forces us to rethink our contracting models, because we are going to perform several validations along the life cycle of the system. So that's forces us to rethink our relationships with the end user and with the users, because from now on, when we deliver the system, the user will perform validation also. So we are going to take contact with the user to take lesson learned to introduce in new systems or so. So the challenge we face is not only technological, but above all, is a methodological challenge we face. The second thing I want to point is it's important to know that our program offices are not starting from zero. We have well-established processes, certified processes, which are aligned with international rules, with emerging international rules, and of course, according to our national regulations. So we have a framework, a regulatory framework, flexible enough to adapt this technology. But the challenge is our internal processes. We must adapt our internal processes to ensure we introduce this technology in a responsible way. To perform this validation, we think the main important thing, or our priority, is to have a good validation criteria. So our task is to provide the program offices with guides, with procedures, and that sort of guidance that they can be able to write, to specify good criteria for validations. This is we think is the main priority. Without clear criteria, we cannot guarantee that AI behaves within the safe limits that defense considered acceptable. And without normative guidance, technical specification cannot properly reflect what the response AI means in military systems. Without normative guidance, we cannot define key performance indicators or the safety thresholds that contractors must meet. This creates a gap in between high-level ethics and the actual technical requirements we write on our contracts. Moreover, without proper guidance, if the system fails, liability falls directly on those drafting operating specification. Okay, so criteria is really important in many sense.
Thank you very much, Carmen.
Okay.
I thank you very much. You were very clear. I expected something like that. Well, as you probably know, in the Ministry of Defense, we have a co-hosted permanent artificial intelligence group, which is co-hosted with DGID and DICESTIC. They have prepared a series of questions. And the first one, sir, is to Lieutenant General Ivorra. Sir, in your speech, you spoke about balancing effectiveness and legal and moral compliance. And I would like to ask you, what are the main internal challenges for DGID when developing a responsible artificial intelligence, and how are you addressing them without slowing innovation?
The main challenge is that responsible AI is not a single technical requirement. Rather, a cross-cutting issue. It encompasses regulatory compliance and ethics, operational doctrines, cybersecurity and data governance, as well as technical assurance issues such as bias, robustness, and model evaluation. Keeping AI literacy aligned across all three dimensions, while the technology advances very rapidly, requires multidisciplinary ways of working and governance that can adapt at pace. So we can mitigate the risk without slowing down innovation.
Thank you very much, sir. For Lieutenant General Campo, sir, you spoke about development, research, certification, experimentation, and keeping everything under a meaningful human control, I think were your words. Now, from an organization with experience and certification, such as INTA, what would be the minimum practices required to consider an AI system acceptable in defense environments?
So in order to ensure that AI systems are acceptable, I will mention only 6 security standards. First, it's essential that AI systems are designed and developed in accordance with the principles of security, integrity, and reliability. Second, explainability and auditability. It's essential to ensure that there are sufficient understanding for common operation. Third, meaningful human control. The objective is guarantee responsibility, command, and capacity of intervention. The human in the loop, on the loop, out the loop models are employed, but the latter only be used in not critical function. Fourth, cybersecurity and resilience. It's imperative to refrain from compromising the integrity of the system. 5, the company's governance, operational ethic, and legal compliance. It's imperative to reach the national and international regulation standards, international humanitarian law, and rules of engagement. And finally, the principle of technological proportionality is be observed. The potential impact of the system is directly proportional to the level of validation, explainability, and human control required.
Thank you very much.
This is the 6 main standards.
You were very clear, sir. I think everybody understood them perfectly. Carmen, you said that program managers need to take into account AI solutions and specifications. And I think your exact words were, validation is the key, and for that you need criteria. Now, you have explained that you need that criteria to carry out validations in order to guarantee a responsible and controlled use of AI. From your experience, what is the risk of not having those criteria consolidated? And how can program offices forward while standards and regulations are being consolidated?
Okay, that's a fundamental question. Fundamental question. The greatest risk of not having consolidated criteria is twofold. Weak validations, on one hand, and on the other hand, a lack of uniformity across program. If we don't have standards or we don't have common criteria, we have the risk of each program office put their own criteria. So that's the main risk. So what can we do? Because the technology is right now, is here. We cannot wait for the perfect regulations. We are working now with this new reality, with this non-determinist technology. So I think we can move forward based on 3 pillars. We have, I told you, we have certified processes, internal processes, so we have to leverage the existing process, working aligned with international standards. There are emerging international standards, so this the other way. And then third, maintaining a strict traceability in our process. I mean, the user define the requirements, program offices write a specification, draft the specification, and then the validation activities. I think it's fundamental to maintain the traceability of the system to ensure we are introducing in a safe way this technology.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Carmen. Well, I wanted to thank you all. I must admit, I had about 5 questions for each one of you, but unfortunately the time is up. So in order to just summarize what I think you have said, I think we must all agree to the idea that the responsible use of artificial intelligence does not mean limiting its capabilities, but it's using it in accordance with our values and our principles. The responsible use of artificial intelligence in the military domain requires clear regulations, like Lieutenant General Campo said, robust explainability, validation criteria, like Carmen says, explainability, and an ethical and transparent culture. By defining those precise requirements, conducting rigorous testing, and maintaining meaningful human control, I think were your exact words, Lieutenant General, we ensure that AI systems act in line with the democratic values and the safety of our forces. It was not too long ago, on January the 21st, to celebrate the 40 years of Spain's joining the European Union. Our king stated before the European Parliament that strength without principles is plain barbarism. And I think that is what we have to put in control regarding artificial intelligence in the military domain. To achieve this goal, we must include it in education of our personnel and our troops. And at this point, I would like to thank the presence here today of Armed Forces Teaching Commands, which I have seen fellow officers of the Army, and especially the Spanish Naval Academy. I know there are some students here. So let me thank you, ma'am, generals. Thank you for finding time in your agendas. I know your agendas are very busy, and you were able to share your insights and experience with us. And may I ask the attendees to give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Mis generales.
Thank you to our panelists, to our moderator. Now we can start our second round of parallel sessions. This is the time to please find the next room you are supposed to be in. Just two quick reminders. We have the Events Networking app where you can follow the contents of this panel, other panels, and parallel sessions 1 to 5. And it's been a great success also for networking purposes. So again, I recommend you download the application. And of course, don't forget to visit the AI use case exhibition. This is located both in the bottom floor, but also don't forget to visit the exhibition on the first floor. I am going to get started then with parallel session 2, the one that's supposed to be held here in the auditorium. As I said before, other parallel sessions are happening, so feel free to join the room you're supposed to be in. And in this auditorium, for a parallel session, we are going to explore a panel, a session titled Tactically and Operationally Irresponsible. This session focuses on the core military and operation security risks associated with deploying certain forms of AI in the military domain. Beyond ethical and legal considerations, we will examine vulnerabilities such as data poisoning, operational security risks, and the potential sabotage or misuse of AI systems in planning and mission execution. I can see everyone's going to their rooms. That is perfect. I would also like to take a second to introduce the moderator of this session, and that would be Nathan Wood. Nathan is the Junior Research Group Team Leader for the Military Defense Technologies and Ethics Project at